All right, the first interview with the Venezuelan leaders after U.S. Delta forces arrested their president. Let's check it out. And welcome to Rob Schmitt Tonight. On January 3rd of this year, President Trump sent the U.S. military into Venezuela to extract the country's dictator, Nicolas Maduro. In the dark of night, U.S. Delta forces flew into Caracas, and they just plucked Maduro and his wife from the country that they lead. Our military taking the Maduros to New York to face drug charges after killing nearly 100 members of the dictator's Cuban security team in the process. It was a wild night, an absolutely wild moment for this country, one that could have led to chaos inside of that country, but did not. We went to Venezuela over the weekend. Venezuela is still very stable. We can report that back to you. And now to survive, this socialist government is working with the Trump administration, hand in hand, opening up to a capitalist future. Political prisoners are being released. Major changes are happening inside of this socialist country and happening very fast. A country where the currency in recent years has totally collapsed. And more than 90% of the people that live in this country, around 30 million of them, are in poverty. 50 years ago, Venezuela was one of the wealthiest countries in the world. Socialism took it down. We talked to Venezuelans and found many who were clearly excited for a new future.
Everything has been the same. Okay, pretty much the same. People here keep coming to work like before. We would think that we're going to have a great country in the next few years.
I have noticed that people are very committed with their works. I've noticed there's a calm within the people. I feel it could be a better future for us and for Venezuela. I would like a big change for studies for us. I would like also a big change for the economy. I consider there is optimism. The country is very calm right now. You can see it here, harmony, nobody fighting.
So this is an incredible country. I mean, it's kind of like California, like Southern California. It's mountains right on the beach. It's beautiful. It's warm, no humidity. It's a potential gold mine, and they have a lot of gold in that country in the ground. They have a ton of oil as well. We were the first network to go into Caracas and interview a key member of Maduro's inner circle, the president of the National Assembly, seen right there, Jorge Rodríguez. We did that on Saturday. Rodriguez's sister, Delcy, now leads Venezuela. So these two, a brother and sister, are the most powerful people in the country. I asked Jorge about Maduro's capture, the last election that Maduro won, which the U.S. says was clearly stolen, and this surreal moment as his government must fully reform and work with the United States to survive. Check it out. Mr. Rodriguez, mucho gusto. Thank you so much for the interview and for speaking with us. It's good to see you. I just want to start with, it's been about, I think, 36 days since the United States came in, captured your leader, Nicolas Maduro, took him back to the United States to face drug charges. I wanted to start with, how has your country digested that moment? It feels pretty stable here right now. How has your government digested that moment as well?
Realmente con una gran madurez.
So the country has been incredibly mature about it. Even though it was a highly traumatic event which took place, the government of Del Cielo and Rodriguez is actually looking for that, to stabilize the country completely and to make it all good and reconcile everybody, all the population of Venezuela.
Usted ha podido ver.
We know that you've been around Caracas lately and that you have been able to see the normality on the streets. We are well aware that the people are just looking to consolidate and get back to normality and to live their life.
I've seen there's images of Maduro, there's signs asking for his release in the city. Do you think that Maduro might be released? Is that part of any, I know you're obviously working with the United States government very closely now. Is that part of a negotiation that you might be able to give something and then get Maduro back?
Lo que yo creo sin ninguna duda es que.
So what I do believe is that President Maduro and the First Lady, Celia Flores, who have been captured, looking into international law, they should be freed immediately.
I wanted to ask you, I mean, this country is very closely allied with China, with Russia. Both of these very powerful countries that are your allies have been very quiet in the wake of your leader being captured more than a month ago. What's your reaction to that? Is that a disappointment for you?
Venezuela siempre ha apelado
So
a,
Venezuela has, always applied an appeal to the diplomacy of peace. And, it's a country that's acting on the world stage, but there is a very, very refutable reality that we are in the American continent. It is not my duty. I am not in charge of diplomatic relations. It's, the duty of the executive power. And we do have relationships with all countries in the world, including China and Russia.
Your country, you now lead this country, your government leads this country now in coordination with the United States, which is completely antithetical to everything that your government has stood for the last, or this style of government has stood for the past 25, 26 years. How is that going? Like, how has that process been?
bueno, en primer lugar, Venezuela.
In the first place, this government is completely, through the government of Interim President Delcy Rodríguez is totally in charge of Venezuela and its sovereignty according to what is established in the Venezuelan constitution.
Ahora bien, la relación de
But yeah, indeed, the relationship between Venezuela and the United States is very intense. But what we can say is that in the last 36 days, we have had a very good understanding and relationship working with the government of the United States. And we are hoping and we're aiming to have a win-win relationship for the people of Venezuela and the people of the United States.
Is there anybody that you speak to regularly? Do you speak to Marco Rubio? Do you speak to Scott Bessent? Who do you handle, and how is the relationship?
Much more with Marco Rubio than with Scott Bessent, without a doubt. And this has been a relationship based on our mutual respect. It's going to be very fruitful, and this is expressed in the future and very near visit of the Secretary for Energy, who will be here discussing the future of this relationship. We have faced, every single situation that has presented itself with the aim of, working together, and we can only say that the future is very, very promising. Under our ground, right here in Venezuela, we have the biggest oil reserves in the world. But that oil underground is no good to anybody. We most likely have also the biggest gold reserve in the world. And we are among the biggest reserve of gas in the world as well.
Es decir, tenemos una gran posibilidad de trabajar.
And, we have ahead of us great joint work. And as President Donald Trump has mentioned it, recently, there's a lot to be done. And what we are looking to do is take that oil that's underground and turn it into hospitals, into schools, into, things for the Venezuelan people.
You have, this is probably one of the best parcels of land you could have as a country in the world. It's beautiful, tremendous amounts of resources, gold, oil, these are very valuable things. Your country economically, though, has really fallen. And I wanted to ask you, this is a socialist country, I understand that. I understand the opinion that you have of capitalism, but do you agree that it's time for capitalist investment to come in here and lift this country back up to where it was 50 years ago?
Bueno, Venezuela, a pesar de que ha promovido.
For the past 25 years, we have emphasized ourselves and focused on the most equality distribution of riches in Venezuela. But we have to say that under the blockade, there have been certain difficulties. There have also been a few mistakes that we have made, and for the interest of Venezuela is to move forward and promote health, education, culture throughout a free market economy.
So that would be a shift. That's a change.
What we are looking and what we are doing is adapting laws so that it can promote investment, especially of those of the United States of America.
Permíteme un ejemplo.
So let me clarify and give you a very plain example. We have had a law, an energy law that was, implemented between 2008 and 2009. And at that moment, we were producing between 3.2 million and 3.5 million of barrels daily. Up until now, we had that law made it very difficult for new companies to come and explode what we call green fields. Green fields are those fields that have not been exploited, touched at all in any way.
Pues bien, hicimos la reforma a petición de la presidenta Rodríguez.
So, in attending a request by President Rodríguez, we made a reform of that law specifically, which was approved unanimously by the government as well as the opposition. And that reform basically allows and facilitates the investment for foreign companies to come and work on those fields.
Are your people okay with oil companies moving back in and capitalist oil companies moving back in? What's the opinion of the people? I know we spoke to many people yesterday that seem optimistic about a future, a more prosperous future for this country. But what's the thinking on that?
They are very okay.
They're okay. They're okay with it.
Nosotros estamos midiendo.
So they're very okay. And Venezuela is a country that has over a century of oil producing tradition, and people are realizing that the coming of the new companies is only going to bring prosperity to the country.
Si tú le preguntas, y seguramente lo habrás hecho a la gente en la calle,
So, and if you ask around the people on the streets, which I'm sure you have already done, what people want, what they expect, is people in Venezuela want to live in peace. They also want to guarantee a future for their sons and their daughters. They want to work safely, and they want for that income and that revenue that it's going to come from the oil to be distributed equally throughout the population.
de ella.
The United States, the United Nations, the Trump administration believe that the last election of Nicolas Maduro was illegitimate, and they want another election, and I think they want an honest election that they can keep tabs on. Have you had that discussion with Marco Rubio? Is that something that this administration is willing to accept here in Venezuela?
En primer lugar, quiero insistirte en que las relaciones con el secretario de Estado Rubio han sido marcadas.
So the first thing I need to mention is that every single conversation with Marco Rubio has been based on mutual respect. And what they have said and repeated continuously is that our independence and our sovereignty is to be guaranteed by us. The president of, President Rodríguez is currently the president in charge because it's stated so in the Constitution of Venezuela. So what we have agreed on, and this has been mentioned by Marco Rubio privately as well as publicly, is the need of stability for Venezuela. And also, which is very important to us, is the reconciliation of Venezuela. For the last 20 years, there have been issues with a big political polarization amongst the population. We have met with every single sector of the opposition. She has brought forward many proposals, one of which, very special, is the amnesty law, which was passed already in the first round and was still going to move it forward.
And real quick, so there won't be another presidential election for 5 more years?
Lo único que te podría decir.
The only thing I could say is that there will not be an election in this immediate period of time where the stabilization has to be achieved. If we reach an agreement with all sectors of the opposition, where a timetable for elections can be reached, where everybody agrees with, then promoting stabilization and promoting coexistence and peace, elections will happen.
In that answer, is there an admission that the last election was not legitimate?
No.
No, there's a reality speaking to the fact that we have been divided for a very long time.
Is Maria Machado welcome to come back to this country and to freely campaign for an election in the future? If she comes back here, will she be arrested or will she be allowed to freely do as she pleases?
Permíteme no encerrarme en.
So allow me not to speak only about one single name, because there are many, many actors who are abroad that we can have to be included in this discussion. Let me give you my personal opinion. There's an amnesty law that is being done at the moment that contemplates, working with people. But there are sectors of the opposition abroad which have promoted violence. We have called upon invasion. We have, promoted, violent acts against Venezuela. Let me clarify this. We want to make this very, very clear that through this amnesty law, we are promoting for all the sectors of the opposition who are abroad to comply with the law, that they can come back and, come back to the country.
Understood. One final question. The president, our president, likes this show, watches this show quite often. I wanted to ask if you had a message for him.
Tenemos una oportunidad de oro.
So right now, we have a golden opportunity. We have, in the past 33 days, things have been moving forward very fast, has been very, very intense. But we have right now opportunities for mutual respect, for cooperation, to build a win-win situation for both countries, for both peoples. We have an oil industry that needs developing, that will be further developed. And we are sure that we can stay on this path of mutual respect and cooperation. And we have ahead of us a very bright future. We have now an oil industry that will guarantee, that will be guaranteed by Venezuela and for all the companies coming to Venezuela.
Mr. Rodriguez, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Good to meet you. Thank you for the interview. Appreciate it.
All right, so there's the interview right there. Was a bit nervous going into that country in a moment like this, but there it was. And Venezuela has the most oil in the world. You probably knew that. We're about to see a huge boom as capitalist American companies move in. That's coming up. Plus, Congressman Thomas Massie now says 6 likely incriminated names are redacted from the Epstein files. He says that the DOJ doesn't come clean, he's going to name them. All that coming up.
Hey, my man, we're asking people what happened to global warming.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I think it's a facade. I think it's fake.
They used to talk about global warming a lot. This is the coldest I think I've ever felt in my life these last 5-6 days.
It's definitely been a lot colder than I remember growing up as a child.
Are you Newsmax?
Yes, ma'am.
My dad is a World War II veteran. He fought in World War II. He's 101. He watches your show in Arizona all the time.
A home serve story. Kim's home water line broke. She's panicking because she can't find a contractor. Pam's line broke too, but she's not worried because she has a plan from HomeServe. Kim settled for this guy. Pam had a qualified HomeServe contractor. Kim was shocked by her bill. Pam's plan paid for the cost of covered repairs. Choose HomeServe or chance it.
Plans from HomeServe start at just $4.99 a month. Call 1-833-731-7050 or visit homeserve.com.
I lost 110 pounds. You couldn't tell it all because of my excess skin. Sono Bello changed that in one visit.
Introducing the new Lift EX, the just one visit total body transformation everyone is talking about.
I am super happy with my results.
I decided to give Sono Bello a try. Look at me, I have a silhouette. You can see my waist.
Lift EX is Sono Bello's breakthrough 360-degree body lift alternative. Our body contouring experts sculpt, tighten, and lift your stomach, waist, thighs, and backside, all in just one visit with less downtime.
Sono Bello targeted the areas diet and exercise could not do. I found me again.
Sono Bello has over 50,000 5-star reviews, and Lift EX is exclusively available at Sono Bello, America's #1 cosmetic surgery specialist. Book your free, personalized consultation today. Easy monthly plans make your best body more affordable than ever.
This year is my year thanks to Sono Bello.
Call Sono Bello for your free consultation today.
I have 3 acres, 3 dogs, 2 horses, and it's kind of an ongoing all day long event. I love it, and I wouldn't want to stop it for any reason. And I feel the same way about Balance of Nature. I would not stop Balance of Nature anyway. There would be no way. You wouldn't be able to force me to stop taking it. It is a no-brainer.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements. Go to balanceofnature.com and subscribe and save today.
Hi there, I'm Dean Heskin, President and CEO of Swiss America. Do you know which investment has outperformed almost every other asset class since the beginning of last year? And that Goldman Sachs research is now forecasting to reach further heights. That's right, it's gold. Central banks around the world continue to buy gold at record levels due to economic turmoil, foreign conflicts, and a weakening U.S. economy plagued by debt. If you're concerned how to protect yourself as our financial system weakens, our team at Swiss America has a solution. For over 40 years, we've helped people just like you purchase precious metals for home delivery and for your IRAs. Don't miss out before this next big price jump. Call or text Swiss America at the number on your screen to receive your free portfolio review and a copy of The Timeless Truth About Gold and Silver. Let us show you how easy it is to safeguard your money. Call or text Swiss America today.
All right, welcome back. Going to do a little analysis on the interview we just saw before we move on with the rest of the show. Ryan Grimm joins us now. Drop Site news reporter, has covered Venezuela extensively. Ryan, good to see you. And wanted you to help us understand kind of what we just did. Obviously, the United States grabbed Maduro about a month ago. Now we essentially kind of control this country. You've got Jorge Rodríguez, who I talked to, says Venezuela will not have a snap election, but they want to stay in power, obviously, but they're going to do whatever the Trump administration wants them to do. It seems like there was a blend of motives for why the United States did this. How do you just describe this moment that we're seeing right now?
I don't know about a blend of motives. We were pretty upfrght about why we were doing it.
I kind of feel like it was Rubio wanting to get the regime out, and also the Trump administration, other people wanting oil, right?
Right, exactly. And the regime is still in place. So you had this bizarre situation where it's a regime change operation, but you change only the very top of it, and then you have the vice president becomes the president, and the current president's brother is sitting before you, the head of the National Assembly. He was awfully conciliatory, I thought. If you noticed, he did open the door to earlier elections if they could, come to some agreement with the rest of the opposition. When it came to allowing Machado back, to run freely, there did seem to be some hesitation in going all the way.
Right.
Although, think about it, she was very, very actively urging a full invasion by the United States of Venezuela. You can imagine if, say, like Hillary Clinton were urging Canada or Mexico
China
or Russia to invade the United States, the political class would probably have some reluctance to allow her to just come right in behind those tanks and run for office. So, it seems like he's trying to strike a balance because he doesn't want to, tick off Rubio too much because she's really Rubio's person.
Yeah, it's wild to see this, though. I mean, what a change just so rapidly from these people, all while trying to kind of keep their country stable and under control and not alienate the people, whatever base they have, which might only be 30% of the active voters from what we saw in that last election. I'm not sure how many, but they do have a political base. There's still millions of people in the country that love Maduro and love the regime, and they probably are a bit confused about what exactly is happening right now. They're doing interviews with Western media. They're opening up to American oil. They're freeing political prisoners. What do you think? How do you think this goes?
The comments that he made about welcoming oil companies, I thought were pretty interesting. Clearly, he's very much open to it. And I think you have to also understand it in the context of why the oil companies left in the first place. In other words, it wasn't as if Venezuela nationalized the oil industry and kicked them out. What a lot of the Western oil companies were doing was just sitting on their concessions, and they weren't actually refining, they weren't drilling, they weren't doing the work that they were contracted by the Venezuelan government to do. And instead, they were pumping up opposition groups, hoping to kind of overthrow the regime and get a better deal out of a new government. And so the government that was in place said, look, if this is what you're going to do, then you're out of here. And so they said, look, if you do the job, you can stay. We have no objection to these foreign companies being here, but you have to do the job. So they end up leaving. So some of them don't want to come back under, and Trump is kind of bullying and pressuring oil companies to get back in. Whereas Venezuela has always said, if you guys will just come in and do the work, then we're happy to have you here.
Well, they have a huge issue that they can't get this. It's like a sludgy oil, as I understand it. They can't get it out of the ground. Yeah. They used to pull out 3 million barrels a day. I think now it's down around 1 million, and that's part of the reason why they're getting poorer and poorer as a nation, because that's their big resource. Do you think that enough investment goes into that this country becomes a prosperous nation again? Where do you see this country in 3 to 5 years?
I mean, we'll see. Nothing like this has really ever been tried. But if Venezuela can continue to sell its oil on the international market through this bizarre mechanism with the offshore account that Trump has set up, and then some money from the offshore account then goes back to Venezuela, that is a genuinely significant improvement over the complete and total sanctions that they were facing earlier. So but this is completely uncharted territory. No country really acts like this in the modern world. So this is an experiment.
It's a hell of an experiment. Ryan Grimm, good to see you. Thanks for the analysis. We appreciate it.
You got it.
Ghislaine Maxwell pleads the Fifth today to Congress. Plus, Congressman Thomas Massie now says 6 likely incriminated names are redacted from the Epstein files, and if the DOJ doesn't come clean, he is going to name them. All of that is up next with the Oversight Chairman, James Comer. Stay tuned.
I'm Michael Savage, and I was conservative before conservative was cool. Do you realize how crazy the liberals in this country have become? I do. You want to get me started today? I'll get started. Watch Michael Savage and the Savage Nation every Sunday night.
Don't kibble your dog.
Oh, hey, Dr. Marty.
Hey, back.
But what's wrong with this? It's premium stuff.
Let's check it out. It's still kibble, which means it's ultra-processed at extremely high temperatures that destroy the nutrients in the food. But at Dr. Marty, we gently freeze-dried premium meats, fruits, and vegetables, locking in their nutrients.
Never kibbled.
You got it, kid, and they're gonna love it.
Your data is like a single domino. The moment it's stolen, it starts a chain reaction that puts the information that guards your assets at risk. 1 in 3 Americans have been a victim of identity theft. Are you willing to risk it?
When I saw zeros on that screen as my bank account balance, I went to immediate panic.
$21,000 just gone.
I opened my account and $30,000 is missing. Like $30,000. I have no idea what to do.
If your personal information is stolen, are you prepared to pick up the pieces alone? LifeLock is the leader in identity theft protection and restoration.
Once LifeLock got involved, everything changed.
With LifeLock, if your identity is stolen, they'll step in and fix it so you don't have to, guaranteed. Our highly trained U.S.-based restoration specialists contact institutions, dispute fraudulent charges, close compromised accounts, and even procure legal support far beyond the capabilities of your bank or credit card company.
LifeLock pursued this case further than I ever would have imagined.
If you call right now, you'll get LifeLock for just $9.99 a month for your first year. And as extra protection, all LifeLock memberships include the $1 Million Protection Package. Our members receive reimbursement for stolen funds and personal expenses, like lost wages, as well as coverage for lawyers and experts up to $3 million in total.
When the bank refused to reimburse my stolen money, the $1 Million Protection Package came through for me.
Our restoration guarantee and $1 Million Protection Package are included in all memberships with no additional fees.
I think it's natural to think that you can do this on your own. You can't. You need an expert in your corner.
Call 1-800-360-9220 and use promo code TV35 or go to lifelock.com/TV35 to join today.
Like a relentless weed, moderate to severe ulcerative colitis symptoms can keep coming back. Break away to what's possible with Tremfya, with rapid relief at 4 weeks. Many people experienced remission at 1 and even 2 years. Some saw 100% visible healing of their intestinal lining. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and TB. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Healing is possible with Tremfya. Tremfya now offers self-administration from the start. Ask your doctor about Tremfya today.
Welcome back. It has been over a week since the DOJ released the largest batch of Epstein files yet. More than 3.5 million more documents out there now. The hidden details, darker than a lot of people could ever imagine. It's clear that there are other people, aside from Epstein and Maxwell, that need to be seriously investigated by the DOJ. Our Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche recently signaling that there'd likely be no additional charges brought in the DOJ's Epstein investigation, which was disappointing to hear for a lot of people. But then we find emails like this. March 2014 to Epstein, thank you for a fun night. Your littlest girl was a little naughty. The identity of the person that sent that email is redacted. Why? Why are we protecting the person that wrote that email? Another redacted identity from 2016 sent Epstein a message saying age 10. Now, that could mean anything. It could have been how old's your daughter? You know, I have no idea. How old's your car? I have no idea. I mean, you don't know. But why is it redacted? Like, why can't we just explain what this is? An internal DOJ document from March alleges an employee needing clear and specific guidance to redact those photographs. Some victims, unknown identified females and males, former U.S. presidents, Secretary of State, and other well-known celebrities, looking for guidance on who to protect. That email says a lot. Congressman Thomas Massie now saying if the DOJ doesn't unredact the names in these files, he's going to start naming those names.
I'm ready to do that if the victims want me to. They believe that the best way to get justice is to force the DOJ to release these names. I've already read one name in a committee with the FBI director there. That's Jess Staley. And there are other names. I don't have them in my possession. But if the victims want to give them to me, I've expressed that I'm willing to do that. But again, the best way is to force the DOJ to release those names.
So with that, we bring in the House Oversight Chairman, Congressman James Comer. They're leading an investigation into the Epstein files. They're going to be talking to Bill Clinton here pretty soon. We're very excited to hear that one. Sir, good to have you. Massie says there could be 6 likely incriminated people that are being protected by these redactions. What's your response to that claim?
Well, we're going to be going in this week. We already had some members of the Oversight Committee and some other committees in Congress that were invited to come in and look at all the Epstein documents unredacted. We can take notes, so I'm going to be going through. I know I'm spending 3 hours in the Department of Justice tomorrow, and I'm encouraging every member of Congress in both parties to go in and see what we can find out. You know, I can't answer why some things are redacted and some things aren't. I've always said from the start that I would love to see the whole every Epstein file in America released with no redactions. Now, one reason there are redactions is the victims want their names redacted, and that makes it complicated. So it's a very difficult situation. Many of these crimes happened decades ago, but we're going to do everything in our ability on my committee to get the truth to the American people and try to get some sort of justice for the victims.
I'm trying to figure out a reason why, you know, I guess an honorable reason why you would redact the name of somebody that sent an email like your littlest one was a little naughty. And I can't come up with that. And that's what, because, you know, you're like, what could it possibly be? You don't want to think that this whole system is as corrupt as it looks. What do you think?
Well, we all have a lot of suspicions and we all assume the worst. Look, this isn't complicated. The American people want to know the truth. What we've heard from the victims and what we've seen just simply by the convictions of both Epstein and Maxwell, these were 2 bad people. Anyone that hung out with them, that especially after he pled guilty in 2010. You know, if you were around Epstein before 2010, you didn't know what kind of person he was. That's one thing. But after he pled guilty to solicitation of a minor, and all the other rumors that went out, and you still associated with him or were in business with him or depended on him to raise money or help you with taxes, then you have some explaining to do, and we're going to try to get the truth and see what we can do to help the victims.
Ghislaine wants clemency or to testify. That's how I take it, and she's just not going to talk until she's free, right?
Yeah, initially she said, this was 6 months ago, she would talk to the Oversight Committee. She volunteered to talk if we would grant her immunity. And I spoke with the committee members in both parties. No one had any interest in granting her immunity. So then she said she was going to plead the 5th. Today we brought her in, and we weren't expecting her lawyers to say this, but her lawyer at the very beginning said she's going to plead the 5th, but she will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and answer every question if the president grants her clemency. And I just don't think there's a lot of support to grant her clemency, but that's going to be President Trump's decision. And you know, a lot of people, if she did tell what she knew, would question her credibility. So again, this is a tough investigation, and everybody's heart's in the right place in Congress. We're all trying to get to the bottom of this.
Yeah, well, Thomas Massie's still pushing the ball forward, so we're going to see what happens with these redactions and the threat that he has made. That'll be the next development here. The House Oversight Chairman, Congressman James Comer. Thank you. Good to see you.
Thank you.
All right. The real reason the NFL made you watch a Puerto Rican pervert sing bad songs in Spanish. next with Sage Steele.
Big media will never stop their antics, their bias, their ugly insinuations, their nasty attacks. Well, they may never stop, but I will never stop exposing them.
You can join the Tunnel to Towers mission to do good by donating your car to today's veterans. Your car donation will help Gold Star families, as well as injured veterans, our first responders, and our homeless veterans. Donating your car is quick and simple. Any car is accepted, and we will pick up the car for free. Simply call 844-BRAVEST.
By donating your car, you can make a real difference. You can do good.
Don't go! I got to. It's time to screen for colon cancer. Also, I'm just going to the porch.
Cologuard is for people 45 plus, at average risk, not high risk.
False positive and negative results may occur. Ask your provider or request Cologuard online.
Hi, I'm Ben Cozy. Isn't traveling a pain in the neck? You're cramped, uncomfortable, and forget about getting any rest. There's nothing cozy about airplane seats or hard plastic benches, and those so-called travel pillows, they just don't cut it. You don't need another travel pillow. You need Be Cozy, the world's most comfortable neck pillow. Trapped in the middle seat? Wrap Be Cozy around your neck to stop chin drop, bobblehead napping. Smashed up against the window? Fold Be Cozy over and tuck it onto your shoulder for super side support. Frequent flyer miles got you sitting aisle? Turn Be Cozy to the side for the perfect pillow position. Everyone wants to be cozy, so get the world's most comfortable travel neck pillow and be cozy just like me, Ben Cozy. You get to be cozy. Everyone gets a Be Cozy. Only Be Cozy has patented overlapping arms so you get double support and the comfort you need in any seat on any trip. Go online right now and get this exclusive TV offer. Buy one Be Cozy, get one 50% off. Get yours now.
Whoa, 90% off? I have to purchase now. My phone!
That was a scam link.
Try this one. We installed PCmatic.
PCmatic blocks ransomware before threats can strike.
It's 100% made in America security.
Trusted by homes, businesses, governments, and now you. Stop guessing.
Start blocking.
Get PCmatic.
I am sure you're aware foods contain no more than 10 to 12 minerals. This is because of topsoil mineral depletion. Your body needs many more than 12 minerals to be healthy. How can you get them? I recommend Immuno 150. This incredible nutritional supplement is different. It doesn't contain metallic minerals like most vitamin and mineral supplements. Immuno 150 contains 70 easily digested plant-derived minerals and 80 additional nutrients. There is nothing like it. The 70 plant minerals are the key to its effectiveness, its popularity, and its high reorder rate. If you want a food supplement that produces outstanding results and really makes a difference, try Immuno 150. Look at the 3 videos on the Immuno 150 website and consider placing an order. Thank you.
This platform is used to unite people and to be able to bring people together. I think Bad Bunny understands that.
Puerto Rico. Seguimos aquí.
So it was a great halftime show if you're a 22-year-old Dominican club rat living in Miami. For the rest of us, it was a bit bizarre. It was an all-around disappointing Super Bowl, though. It was not a great game. It was a terrible first half. And the pinnacle of the badness was what we just saw right there, a Super Bowl halftime show that had an extremely narrow fan base. Big city white girls that go out every weekend loved it. But 98% of the country, including the NFL's core audience, was just dumbfounded and nobody could understand a word of it. The halftime show is probably the largest cultural display that this country, the United States of America, makes every single year, and every single year it gets worse. And if you're wondering why, it's actually quite simple. Why did we have to sit through 15 minutes of this last night? The halftime show has become a public broadcast of the real agenda of our largely corporatized country. A larger, more diverse, watered-down America, fully globalized, totally open borders, and tons more people working and buying products and paying taxes. That's what's best for the government, and that is what's best for our corporate oligarchy, places like the NFL and major corporations. They don't care what it does to your culture, to your wages. They push it with displays like last night. They insult Americans by making you watch 15 minutes of something that you can't even understand. You would never see this in any other country in the world. No other country in the world would ever do this to its people. And watching Roger Goodell hug Bad Bunny in his suit with his stupid white sneakers encapsulates all of it. A greedy elite liberal that looks at Bad Bunny and just sees dollar signs. And American families have to sit and watch two men dry hump on national TV so Roger Goodell can get richer. And the media all, of course, gushes over how perfect it all was.
There was no one that could have watched last night that didn't dance.
I can't overstate what it means to the Latino community that has seen itself persecuted, attacked, racially profiled.
He was lifting everyone up around him.
It was such an homage to the island, La Isla del Encanto. It was so beautiful.
Keep laughing because I think you don't recognize excellence and creativity when you see it. Do you know how creative that was?
And of course, the Ozempic Latina over there is talking about victimhood out of all this. I mean, every single time with this show, it's just insufferable. Sage Steele is the host of the Sage Steele Show, and she joins us now. And I think we're both kind of confused about what we watched last night. But I understand. I think I understand why it happened and why we had to see that. What are your thoughts?
First of all, a great intro there. And when you end it on the Ozempic Latina, I'm like, Rob, now I can't focus.
Sorry about that.
I mean, I try to separate my personal opinions from, hey, different people's perspectives, I guess. And the business perspective on this, we talked about this. We know exactly what it is as the NFL tries to go more global. They had there were 5 different countries where they played games in this season, regular season, compared to 3 last year and 2 the year before. It's obvious what they're trying to do, and I get it from a business perspective. Sure. But this, to me, is silliness. Because at the end of the day, you said it, no other country would do this. And bring in a performer that does not even attempt to speak their language. When he knew from the beginning, when Jay-Z and everybody announced him 4 months ago, what did Bad Bunny say? You have 4 months to learn my language if you want to understand my lyrics on Super Bowl Sunday. I don't know, did that inspire people to go learn Spanish who didn't like me? No, hard no. But at the end of the day, it just saddens me because the NFL and Jay-Z, they have every right to do this. You know what else we have a right to is alternatives. And that's why I am really proud of Turning Point USA, what they did, the show they put on. And I betcha they continue to do this since they got, almost 6 million people streaming it live. And I saw people who were angry that there was an alternative. It's amazing how they only want to turn alternatives when it's convenient for them. It was creative. I did, because I was watching both, by the way. Technology Today, guys, calm down.
I watched them both.
And you should do it if you're in our line of work, right? And I'm like, okay, I want to understand. Good, he put the peace, love, whatever up on the big board, fine. Like, I just want to know what you're saying. And I didn't know what the hell he was saying. And the sexual part of it, the problem with that is, Rob, is that ship has sailed. And we have seen that from performers that we do like over the past several decades. You can even go back to the wardrobe malfunction back in the day with Madonna and Justin Timberlake, whatever. I don't like that, but to me, it's too late for that. So do I want to see anybody dry humping, male or female? No.
Yeah.
Whatever there. Speak English. Let me understand this love you are allegedly professing. And we weren't allowed to even understand it in our own country. People don't want to remember the fact that English is our official language. Donald Trump made sure of that a year ago when he signed an EO, and he didn't do that.
Yeah, why is it, Sage, that for some reason such a huge portion of this country cannot wait to just anything that's not American, anything that's, they embrace this so forcefully. It just speaks to how much guilt is inside of the American left. And just, I mean, anything not us, anything not this culture, anything not this language, they just latch to and will defend to the ends of the earth. And as you said about the Turning Point, I mean, they're saying 25 million people watched across all platforms. It was a great show. I thought the end of it with Kid Rock performing the last song I thought was fantastic. Just take a little glimpse of that. You watch that whole show. It ended really nicely, and it just felt a lot more the culture of the country that the game is in, and the NFL came from, right?
What a concept! Is to pay attention to your demographic that's watching the game, that has elevated it to the levels where every single player is a millionaire, and you've got billionaire owners, et cetera. That's because of the demographic, because of the fan base, and I hate that they seem to have made that a second place, like everybody's on the back burner in order to continue to grow. I think that's the part that's tough, and it also makes me laugh. Whichever View chick said that about, our people and how difficult it's been. I mean, what country has been more friendly in ways that are illegal with the border, actually, but more friendly to the Latina community? And I love that. That's the diversity of America. But stop with the oppression. Look at the job that you have on The View to be able to say these things. So I don't know. The problem is, Rob, I don't know that you can put the toothpaste back in the tube. For me, I'm guessing it just continues to go in this direction, which is why Turning Point will continue to do the same thing.
I completely agree. Great take on that. Sage Steele, good to see you. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Rob.
All right, Democrats enraged over the idea of a secure election. Next in news from the left.
Something that disenfranchises people. This is another way to simply try to suppress the vote.
Get ready for spring now at Blue Compass RV with RV show prices at over 100 locations coast to coast. Forest River Auroras from $98 a month. Alliance Delta Solos from $198 a month. Or Jayco Greyhawks from $744 a month. Save on the largest selection of America's premium brands with RV show prices on over 15,000 new and used RVs. Hurry to Blue Compass RV. Shop online or in store today.
Doctors' Preferred Liver Defense is doctor-developed to support your natural detox function with clinically validated, triple-tested key ingredients to energize and renew your liver. Find Liver Defense in the supplement aisle at Walmart. Doctors' Preferred. Better science, better results.
He's breathing. Okay, go again.
Children account for 75% of choking deaths.
That's why I recommend everyone have a life vac in your home, car, or business.
The life vac is simple to use. Just place, push, and pull.
Its suction removes an obstruction out of the airway quickly, saving a life.
If you use your life vac for an emergency, we'll replace it for free. Order now.
Go to lifevac.net or call 877-543-3822.
Are you still cleaning your floors with a broom and dustpan?
Or down on your hands and knees with paper towels?
Or dragging out your big, heavy vacuum?
Hello, everyone. I'm April Lufrio with another deal from Incredible Inventions called the Zippy Sweeper. Is it a broom? Is it a vacuum? It's none of the above. It's an electric broom that sweeps up messes and spills quickly and easily. Whether you're cleaning up accidental spills in the kitchen, pet hair, dust, or crumbs from hard-to-reach places, Zippy has you covered. With its 360-degree swivel head and ultra-lightweight design, you'll get your cleaning done in half the time with zero hassle. It seamlessly transitions from hard surfaces like tile, vinyl, and hardwood to low-pile carpets. Say goodbye to tangled cords. The Zippy Sweeper is powered by a long-lasting rechargeable battery, giving you up to 60 minutes of uninterrupted cleaning power. This sweeper is equipped with a self-emptying dustbin, so you can dump the dirt with just one click, no messy bags and no fuss. Perfect for homes with kids or pets. The Zippy Sweeper is as quiet as a whisper, so you can clean anytime without disturbing the peace. The Zippy Sweeper is available on Amazon for $109, but if you scan this QR code now, you can get it for the special on-sale price of just $59. That's $50 off instantly. Zippy would normally sell to major retailers like Walmart, Home Depot, and others, but today we're cutting out the major retailers so you can enjoy these huge savings at home. Go online or scan and save big with this QR code. And oh, Zippy is also offering a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you don't like it, send it back, and we'll even cover the cost of return shipping. Nobody else offers this kind of guarantee, so get your Zippy Sweeper today.
You know, waking up in the hospital from all that stuff, there's got to be some kind of purpose for me here. I need to get over myself and start helping others. Total Towers came in and gave me and my family a home. I've regained quite a bit of independence from that amazing gift they've given me. I can't begin to thank Total Towers for everything they've done for our family. It means so much to us, a life-changing gift. Thank you. Please donate $11 a month at t2t.org.
Have you ever dreamed of getting your business on TV? At GrowAds.com, we produce a high-end TV spot starting at only $950. Then we air your TV spot on major cable networks in your local area, only at GrowAds.com.
Welcome back. Time now for news from the left. You know, it keeps coming. It's beyond incredible listening to how Democrats talk about the idea of simply asking a voter for their identification. As you listen to this montage we put together, keep in mind that almost all Americans think that this is a sensible idea that should be implemented.
It's still going to be something that disenfranchises people. This is another way to simply try to suppress the vote.
It's Jim Crow 2.0. This is vicious and nasty. And I said to our Republican colleagues, it will not pass the Senate.
It might violate the 19th Amendment, which gives women the right to vote.
What Republicans are trying to do is to engage in clear and blatant voter suppression. What Donald Trump wants to do is try to nationalize the election. Translation, steal it.
Yeah, why don't you just admit that you can't win a legitimate election? Just confess already. Stop with the BS. Next up, Winter Olympics kicking off over the weekend. A couple U.S. athletes decided to do their best to turn off millions of potential viewers before the first event was even held.
Just because I'm wearing the flag doesn't mean I represent everything that's going on in the U.S.
It's been a hard time for the community overall under this administration. Now, especially, it's not just affecting the queer community, but many other communities.
Obviously, my parents being immigrants, this one definitely hits pretty close to home. I think in moments like these, it is really important for us to unite. We need to lead with love and compassion.
Yeah, we also need borders, honey. And why they ask athletes these questions is because they're trying to elicit these kinds of reactions. That's all they want, so that they have fodder to talk about. These people have no idea what they're talking about. After Trump hammered U.S. skier Hunter Hess, he appeared to reverse course on Instagram, saying he loves his country and that there could always be things that are better. But one of the things that makes it so great is that you have the right and freedom to point that out. And he says he can't wait to represent Team USA next week when he competes. He felt the burn. And next up, Don Lemon comparing his arrest for his role in that anti-ICE mob that basically harassed and tormented kids with their families in a church. He compares himself to a civil rights protester.
In my time when I was there, I thought about all the people who'd come before me. I thought about all of the people who fought for civil rights, who fought for gay rights, all of the people who were at Stonewall. Marsha P. Clark, I'm like, yes, those are the people, those are the real heroes. And so what's happening to me, I have, at least in this time that I'm living now, more agency, more resources, more rights, and I would hope, than the people who were fighting for our freedom and our civil rights.
He's such a moron. And it's honestly frustrating that they arrested him because they just gave him exactly what he wanted, because he's valid now and he's going to get away with it too. It's just so frustrating. And finally, we know why Spain is importing all of these North African migrants and just immediately giving them citizenship. Spain's socialist prime minister, Pedro Sanchez, just got dinged really hard in a regional election. Right-wing political parties making substantial gains in Aragon's 67-member parliament. Conservative People's Party coming up first place, 34.3%. A number of other parties to the right in the country overperforming as well. This is what happens when you destroy your country and then try to save it by giving the right to vote to everybody that destroyed it. Not a good look for the left in Spain. A very common story across the pond. All right, coming up next, Far Too Young. We lost a wonderful talent over the weekend.
You know Rob Finnerty. He's smart, bold, and stands strong for your values. Rob is fighting for you. Watch Finnerty weeknights only on Newsmax.
The first day back from maternity leave is so weird. We get it. Find a caregiver who does too. When it's not you, it's care.com.
Home inspectors, contractors, roofers. All kinds of pros recommend Leaf Filter. Why? Topped by stainless steel micro mesh, Leaf Filter is engineered for protection. In testing, Leaf Filter handles double the water volume of common hood-style guards without overflow. Our product design is driven by relentless innovation, ensuring optimal performance even in the toughest storms. And we back it all with a lifetime clog-free guarantee.
Call 833-LEAF-FILTER or visit leaffilter.com.
Super Beats by Human just got an upgrade. Introducing our bold new packaging. Same science, same trusted results. Founded in partnership with the University of Texas. This is modern cardiovascular support. Only human.
Don't kibble your dog.
Oh, hey, Dr. Marty.
Hey, back.
But what's wrong with this? It's premium stuff.
Let's check it out. It's still kibble, which means it's ultra-processed at extremely high temperatures that destroy the nutrients in the food. But at Dr. Marty, we gently freeze-dry premium meats, fruit, and vegetables, locking in their nutrients.
Never kibbled.
You got it, kid, and they're gonna love it.
Hey, I'm former Navy SEAL Cade Courtley, and out here, I can't afford to be without power. That's why I carry the brand new Alpha Case Elite solar generator from 4 Patriots. An all-in-one solar power station packed inside a covert case. Inspired by advanced military tech, it powers your lights, tools, even your fridge. No gas, no noise. You'll get a solar panel included free. Go to 4patriots.com and get your Alpha Case with a free solar panel now.
All right, finally tonight, we lost a good one over the weekend. 3 Doors Down lead singer Brad Arnold passing away at the age of 47, losing a battle to stage 4 kidney cancer. He was a great guy. The band best known for some iconic songs, When I'm Gone, Kryptonite, Here Without You. There were many, many more. This was a very talented band. The band's surviving members announcing the death on social media says with his beloved wife Jennifer and family by his side, he passed away peacefully surrounded by loved ones in his sleep after his courageous battle with cancer. And at a time when the mainstream media, Hollywood, and the music industry all lined up solidly against conservatives, against a new president in this country, almost 10 years ago, Brad Arnold, a conservative Christian rock member, rock lead singer, and his band could not wait to perform at Trump's first inauguration way back in January of 2017. Awesome. That was a fantastic band. I watched them all growing up. I loved him, and I was so sad to hear that news. Edie Hill in for Finnerty up next. Were you a 3 Doors Down fan, Edie?
Yeah, I actually loved their music, and I could understand it because it wasn't in Spanish.
Exactly, and that's a good point. And our hearts going out to Brad Arnold's family and to the band as well. Good to see you, Edie.
Good to see you. Enjoy the show, and Finnerty is up next.